Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My next guest burst onto the hockey scene in the WHL in the late 1980s with the Medicine Hat Tigers. He had an ultra-successful junior hockey career, which culminated with his being drafted to the Boston Bruins, 126th overall, in the 1990 NHL entry draft, and then winning the coveted Memorial Cup in 91 as a member of the Spokane Chiefs. He'd go on to play pro hockey all over the planet for the better part of 2 decades, and his 6-year pro roller hockey career was decorated with national and international championships and sees him as one of the best to ever play the game. We were line mates on the Bentley Generals and Cornerbrook Royals, and he's one of my closest pals in the hockey world. He is a serious scorer, a proud player, a terrific teammate, a San Diego sniper, a charming champion, amazing Albertan. He's a real cool cat and played in the Hat. He's not a thief and won with the Chiefs. Want to know more? This cat could score. He's not scared of bees and was a star overseas. As a friend, he's loyal and he sniped for the Royals. We were the best as teammates out west. Folks, there's no rhyme for his name, so I'll change the order and arc. Please welcome to the show. It's Wolf, Mark. How the hell you doing, Wolfie?
Good, Terry. Yourself?
I'm all right. You're in BC and I'm in Newfoundland. And I've had a fantastic fall and a good summer. It was good to see you this summer, by the way. Let's plug that before it starts because I'll forget. We met each other this summer. Not met each other. We were this summer with Jerry St. Cyrs. What was the name of the cause again? We were in Victoria.
Sport Assist.
Sport Assist. So we raised, Jerry, I don't know, I guess they do events, but this particular event raised money for a lot of kids that didn't have the money to pay for equipment for sports. Am I right?
That's right. Yep.
That was a great time. It was good to see you. When was the time before that I would have seen you?
Oh, geez. I mean, it's been a while. I mean, we've both been real busy in life, that's for sure. But I think it was maybe when we played in Cornerbrook.
I think it was at the Maxi Pad or Maxwell House.
Yeah, that was a place.
Well, yeah, there's a guy on our team, for those that don't know, Roger Maxwell, and he had a place, and we'd call it the Maxi Pad or Maxwell House. But listen, yeah, I guess so. For those that don't know, I talk about you on here once in a while. We met while playing in the West Coast Hockey League in the early 2000s. We had a real good mutual friend, Darren Colburn, who had a lot of success playing with Mark. We were all line mates at some point, and then played roller hockey team Canada together, and then a couple of years of senior hockey. So since those senior hockey years, and I'll get into that in a minute, we'll go right back to Medicine Hat because I'm fascinated by your career. But you've been doing what?
So when I got out of hockey, obviously I got back into oil patch. I come from a long line of drillers. My grandfather, after World War II, he opened up Trinidad, Portugal, and Venezuela for Imperial Oil back in the day when my father was younger. So drilling in the jungle, and then I got into the patch. I drilled for a long time, and then I was a consultant with CNRL, and then moved over to the pipeline side. It's called horizontal directional drilling, and over here I'm an inspector over here right now, overseeing the work site and just kind of making sure things go smooth and to cost efficiency as my bosses want it. So
you were always a bit of a tool, a handyman too. Is that, you get that from your dad? And I know from experience living with you, but it seems to me you always found your way around a workbench. Am I wrong?
No. I definitely got it from my father. He was great with, working with his hands, and he's an ex-military man himself as well. And then in his spare time, just tinkered, and there's no special training for it. Just get out there and learn. And, along the way, when times were slow and the patch was slow, we reverted back to, we used to build 24 by 28 garages from the ground up, and big huge decks for people. And we just did it for, a normal price. We weren't ripping anybody off. It was just to keep the lights on, and so we didn't spend our oil and gas money back then. So, I've always enjoyed it. I always think that, why can't I do it myself? If I'm hiring somebody else to do it, in this day and age, you can go on University YouTube and really learn anything,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So back then YouTube wasn't really around so much. It kind of was, but all the teachings on there were just kind of in that start process. So yeah, it was it's always been an enjoyable avenue for us to build our own things.
You when I lived with you in Calgary, and we will get into this, give it context, people, but the context doesn't matter in this sense. So you got me a tool belt. Can you remember that? And we would work on your deck. I didn't know what I was doing. I never had a hammer in my hand in my life. No clue. But you got me the tool belt, and I'm like, I used it, but I'm like, I'll never use this again. But I brought it home. So, like, as you know, I'm in the film world now, but my first 4 or 5 years, I was locations, and then I was a set dresser. I'm in the union as a set dresser. So not that I ever had to build anything like you, but I worked closely with the carpenters. And, I don't know, like anything, putting pictures on the walls or, minor things that I needed, at the very least a power drill for. So I did, again, I'm not good with tools, but the belt came in handy and I had to use it often, and now it's worn out. It's wild. So your gift took about 3 or 4 years for me to ever actually use it. But once I did, it came in handy.
It was a lot of fun building that deck. Yeah. That
was a good time in my life, and we will. So I want to go back because you're born in Manitoba. I keep forgetting that, right? You're because I say amazing Albertan, and you started in Medicine Hat. What point did you move there to Alberta?
Dad was stationed in. They came from Germany. My brother was born in Germany on a military base over there, and then I was born in Brandon, Manitoba. My dad was stationed in Shiloh, Manitoba at that point.
Okay.
And then it was 1977. I think I was 7 years old, almost 7, when we moved out west. And my dad's originally from Alberta. He's from the Blairmore Crow's Nest Pass area.
Okay. Yeah.
All the Wolves are out from that neck of the woods. And so, yeah, we moved to CFP Suffield and then lived in Ralston. And then we moved into Red Cliff just outside Medicine Hat. And then obviously into Medicine Hat in 91, my folks moved.
So your first year in the Dub, I see 5 games played. Were you an underage then? Because you then played another 4 after. Was that your 16-year-old year?
That was a 15-year-old year, yeah.
15. Okay,
yeah,
this is big.
Yeah, so me and Trevor Linden played Bantam together. We went to a lot of major tournaments that year, and I don't recall us even losing a game that year. So we were both 15-year-olds, and back then there wasn't a draft. It was just when you turned 15, whoever got the fax quickest into the the WHL office seemed to got your rights, and Medicine Hat seemed to get both me and Trevor, right? So we came up as 15-year-olds right from Bantam, and you could only keep one 15-year-old. And that summer, obviously, Trevor grew about a foot that summer, and I mean the rest is history. Trevor's had a glorious career, and he's a wonderful individual, right? So.
That's amazing, though, Wolfie. You played 5 games as a 15-year-old. I played, as you know, I went out west and played junior A at 14. But at 15, I played 3 games with the Americans, and I was pumped. I didn't even realize that we have been friends all this time. When you were talking about your first year, I thought it was 16, and then I did the math. When I was just looking at Hockey DB today, I was like, Jesus, 15 years old. So you scored a goal. That must have been huge. To score a goal as a 15-year-old with Medicine Hat, your team that, you're, for lack of a better way to put it, your second hometown. So how did that feel, and where was it? Do you remember?
I think it was in Regina. It was in Regina on the road. It was, and I remember being kind of half out of it because Cam Janssens was playing on that team then, and he was an older. I think he was 19 or 20. And
Mark Janssens, you mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mark Janssens. Yep.
Yeah. I played against him. It's a big fucking tough guy, man.
He's insanely massive, right? And he hit me so hard that my head actually hit the ice in between my legs. So I was kind of out of it. So I don't remember the goal. And that team was so good. I mean, that was the first year that Medicine had won the cup back to back. And they were so good. They were just so good that year to start with. And the next year when we did win it, I don't think we were pegged to win it. I think we just ended up winning it. So.
Yeah, I mean, so you win the Mem Cup, you get drafted. I don't know the story about you getting traded to Spokane. Was that a personal request, or because Spokane were gunning for it again? Of course, I already gave the plot. I gave what happens away in that I've already told people that you won the Memorial Cup. I've talked about it on the Odd podcast for years because that team really intrigued me. It was the first time that I guess had seen the Western League. It was national, the Spokane Chiefs. I know what happened in Medicine Hat. I didn't really see much about that. I heard about it. And over here, I don't know the way the TV rights work then, but when I watched the Memorial Cup, it was the first time I ever saw your team, and it resonated with me for a lot of reasons. Pat Falloon was, I think, ranked behind Lindros. Did he go number 2? He played on your team. Ray Whitney was intriguing, smaller player, but real good. You were unbelievable in junior. I know you had way more than a point a game that year. You smashed it. So what brought you to Spokane in the first place?
Well, there's a gentleman who was I guess our GM in medicine, had Tim Speltz. He goes way back with my family. My brother had him as a general manager in midget, and didn't really see eye to eye along the way. You know, hockey was kind of changing at that point, and about halfway through that year, I think I was 33 or 35 goals at Christmas. I was close to leading the dub, I think, at that point, but he ended up trading me and Chris Lafreniere actually for Travis Green. They thought they had a real good chance of winning the cup, and they obviously decided that I wasn't going to be a part of that. So ended up trading us down there, and it was kind of wild. You know, going in there, they weren't really pegged as a good team that year.
Really?
I remember going into Tri-Cities, and we got with Stu Barnes in there, and they pegged us like 14-1 one night, and it was kind of kind of like a flip flop to the next season. You know what I mean? How good we actually were as a group. But yeah, going in there and then, you know, playing with Patty and Ray that year, those guys were, I mean, they were ahead of their time, really. You know, Patty was an amazing player.
Not only fucking that, Wolfie. Not only that, you had a guy, Kerry Toporowski, with over 500 penalty minutes. And that year, remember, they took out the 10s. He got 505 penalty minutes without 10s being counted. See, I heard of all this. That's why it intrigues me. And I'm not kidding you. Like, I don't really, I remember watching you guys win it on TV somehow. And in 1991, 92, 91, so the summer of 91 was when I went out to play the Vancouver Super Series, and Tri-Cities sent me up to play in Quesnel. So I was playing junior at 14. Again, I'm hearing all these names. I'm watching games. I think that year, I think Kamloops won it. And when Zach Boyer scored on a breakaway and maybe in overtime, I had Corey Hirsch on a couple weeks ago, but I remember watching that, and I was already living out west. So like I was forming, like, my hockey idols were like starting to come from the West, you know, because obviously I knew I was going to go there, and I really honed in. So I always thought, because the team I was watching, Spokane, were so good, I thought you got traded there because they were going for it, and you just lost the first year, and then you won it with all the guns. So you're telling me you left one winning situation, randomly went to another team that had no idea they were going to win it a year from then, and then won it again?
And then I won it as a 20-year-old. Yeah.
That is fucking unbelievable. Like, I know people get multiple Memorial Cups. Usually it's a situation of you win one and then they trade for you at the deadline. You were dumped off, and then fucking not only won the WHL, won the Memorial Cup, which I hear is one of the hardest trophies to win in the world because you only have a little window to do it. And there's all 3 leagues playing for it, right? Anyway, that is fucking wild. So then you get drafted to Boston. You were in, obviously, contact with them. They must have been happy with your Memorial Cup. And then you go on a pro hockey ride for the next 15 years. That's wild, wacky, and weird. So how did that go? You go to your first camp in Boston.
Yeah, you know, it was kind of hyped up in Boston too. You know what I mean? Because it was the first summer that I kind of went out and worked on the oil rig too. When I was 19, right? Same summer I got. So they put that big, you know, the whole thing comes into the paper of in the Boston Globe of, holy moly, we drafted this guy who works on the oil rigs and this and that. And by the time I got there, it was so hyped up. You know, I think Lyndon Byers and Bruce Shoebottom were chomping at the bit to have a tug at me, and I'm like, get away from me. You know what I mean?
That era.
Yeah. You know, so Boston was the best experience because it was an eye opener for me. Mike Milbury was obviously the coach there, and you know, my idol Cam Neely was on there. You know, and just to see him on the ice, and Ray Bourque and all those guys, the Sweeney boys they had there, Al Peterson, who you know was a Medicine Hat Tiger in the past, who actually taught me in hockey schools when I was younger. You know, and then being able to play with him there, and then I played with him in Springfield afterwards in Hartford situation. Yeah. in their farm club. But yeah, it's
Fuck,
just
it's a small world.
It was a wild ride. It really was. I wasn't in the best of shape coming in, so and it was great to learn that lesson right off the start of my career, and looked after it after that. But it was a heck of a
Your era, man. Well, I was just coming in at I guess you can say it's my era, but you came in what are you, 7 years older? Like those mid 80s, like it was God. And those I know because I played with guys and it was a different mentality. Like, I'm not saying what's better or worse because it's nice to hang out with your buddies, but back then, like, a big part of it was going out and drinking beers with the boys and trying to navigate yourself around that, because that's a lot of fun, right? And lots of teams, like, you just look over, and if the captain and the assistants are doing it, like, I'm okay. And it's fun to do this. And you'll work out, but maybe not as much as you would be today. And again, I'm not in any way putting down either system or either culture, either era. It was just like, I remember, like, it was men, like you were coming in and look, Wolfie, you had like 96 penalty minutes. That would be considered now a lot, right? You would go, I only fought 6 times that year. And it's like, like it was an era of a lot more fighting, a lot of more physicality, but off the ice, like, it was a bar culture. And if you're going to places like, you got to tell me about this, the Colonial League, 2 years within, you're out of junior, you're winning the Mem Cup, you're all over, you're drafted to Boston, you go to camp. This is wild. Tell me about your experience in that league, because I don't want to say it was bad. I'm not saying that. It was definitely it felt like another planet when it came to pro hockey, because of the teams, because of the players there. There were great players like yourself, but there was some real heavyweight goons and everything in between. Some crazy burns, crazy coaches. How did you get started in that league?
Well, we thought it was the first year Ottawa was in existence, the Senators, and so I ended up getting sent down and playing in Thunder Bay. And Thunder Bay was a wild ride, man.
They affiliated in the Colonial League. I find that so. Again, I got nothing against the Colonial League, but you know what I mean. There was something. Most teams went to the coast, I think, at that point, the East Coast League, like they do now. Which seemed like a more organized, professional. Eyes are on you in higher ups. How many NHL scouts went to Thunder Bay? But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, Ottawa scouts were there. That's about it. I would think they'd just come to look at our guys. And, naming Jerry St. Cyr before that, Jerry played in Thunder Bay after me too. You know what I mean? So Jerry was quite the customer when he played. You know what I mean? He played both sides of the fence, right? So
he really did, yeah.
But that team there, my roommates that year were Gary Callahan. He played in the O, and he was a fantastic player. But Brian Wells was my other roommate, and Wellsy, as people know, he got suspended 2 years worldwide for a stick fight with Mark Tenorti. He beat Mark Tenorti, broke his arms, right, or one of his arms in a stick fight. I remember him going off the ice and he had about this much of his stick left, in his hands. And then, he went over when he went over to Scotland and tried to play there, but the world had caught on to it. He actually went over there under a different identity and tried to play there. So, and then they finally figured out.
What's this guy's name?
Brian Wells. Yeah.
I heard that now. I didn't realize that was why, though. And I do remember the stick fight you're talking about. Everybody talking about it, but there was no YouTube. So, I heard about it more than anything.
Yeah, he played in Regina, and Tenorti was playing with the Calgary Wranglers back then. But yeah, Thunder Bay was it was definitely, we were a pretty tight knit group, coached by Bill McDonald. He's coaching, I think, somewhere down in the south now. But it was extremely tough. Mel Angelstead was there.
Yeah,
Vern Ray was a big Aboriginal guy, man, and he was 6'4", lefty, man. He was tough, man. And I could go on and on. There was probably, or Bruce Ramsey was there, the Ram Jam.
Yeah, I do, man. They were tough, man. They're not only tough, though, Wolfie, like legends of, the game, like characters, right? Like Mel Angelstad is one of the all-time characters. Actually, I'd love to get him on here. I don't really know him that well. I've heard about him. But, Wolfie, I could talk about this as a friend and a player. I could spend 10 hours talking about these teams, so we might come back to that, but I'm curious about the whole journey, and I'm sure people listening want to hear some stories. especially some like, I want to get into some of the senior hockey stuff. But anyway, you go up. So that same year, you're in the A. You're in the A a few times, and I know you're a great player. And I'm looking at stats in junior that you're playing against the same guys that have success. You didn't get much ice time when you went up there. Is that what happened?
It was limited for sure. I mean, that year, so I played in Thunder Bay, and at about halfway through the year, something just kind of snapped inside. I was getting to a point of being like 20 pounds overweight while I was playing, and it was ridiculous, really. We were just having too much fun off the ice as a team, and it happened. And that was the error, you know what I mean? And I kind of wanted to make a change, so I ended up calling Taraskowski down in Columbus.
Really?
Roscoe, yeah. And then he actually, it's the only team I ever transferred in the middle of a season, just because it wasn't a personal issue, just a personal choice that I think I wanted to have my career go in a different direction, because so far in my career it hadn't gone to the levels that I wanted it to go to, and it was probably more of a personal commitment. And so going down there, and then that's how I kind of got up to the American League that year. Me and Clayton Young and Blair Atchingham actually all played together down there, and we all ended up getting called up there because we were lighting it up so much in Columbus. But when I first went to Columbus, Roscoe really took me by the horn, and he taught me how to eat, taught me how to train better.
Nice. I didn't know this.
Yeah, he didn't play me for like 2 weeks, man. He'd keep me out after practice and skate me and skate me and skate me and skate me and skate me. And then, he just, I remember it was getting close where he was going to bring me into play, to actual game. And I came in that night, and then it was like, well, jersey wasn't up my stall, and I was like, I guess I'm not playing tonight. I'll get ready for the next game, keep working and go ride the bike for a while and work out again. And Roscoe ended up coming in, and that's why I ended up wearing number 8 after that most of my career, is because
really?
Roscoe was number 8 when he was with when he played in the show and was captain a couple places, and he never ever let anybody actually wear his jersey, his number, when he was coaching, right? He never had let it in Saskatoon and some other places.
I didn't know that either, Wolfie.
Yeah. And then he just he came in and he just made a speech about this guy came in, worked his tail off. He lost 22 pounds in 2 weeks. I did, and he ended up giving me number 8, and that's how I wore number 8 the rest of my career. And it was awesome because Cam Neely was number 8 so as well. So.
And you fucking did well when you went up to the A with a little opportunity. So, and I don't say this, Wolfie, in any negative sense, you got sent down. Happens to all of us, but I just say it because you've got one of the best shots I've ever seen. And if anything, I did spend time in the NHL, and I saw a lot of people shoot the puck. And I mean, you're up there with like Michael Ryder, like that. It's wild anywhere. And I play with you, and I know I like to get points. And I literally just needed to throw it your way more than once. And, whenever we played together, and there was a chance that you were going to get it. You needed a little space. That's it. A little space. One little stutter step. Defense go one way, and you saw it, and you could score better than 99% of the players I play with. But so I don't want to frame it poorly. I just think, you're an NHL player that didn't happen to play NHL games. But you go on a tear after that. You go over to the Air Scottish Eagles. Well, Austria first, where you do well, point a game, and now you go there for 3 years. I'm fascinated with the British Elite League, and if I was in your position, I would have definitely made the move to Europe at some point. I'm kind of pissed off that I couldn't. I had that ankle injury, but you seem to find a home there. So what was that experience like?
It was, at that point in my career, I knew I was going over there, so I was trying to sign in some places where my family originated, right? So my mom's side of her family's from Rankin, right? Related to the Rankin family from the East there, the great musical band, right?
Okay, didn't realize that.
Yeah. So, but the Rankin family actually came from the Ayr AYR. That's where I played Ayr in Scotland, and that Ayrshire area is where that family actually originated way back in the day, and that's where the family plots are, right? So
yeah, that's
where it all started, and I was only going to go there 1 year and play, and I loved it so much. The Scottish people are the absolute salt of the earth. They just treated us like gold. The second year over there, we won all 4 trophies in one season. You play for a Benton Hedges Cup, an Express Cup, which is a newspaper, and then the regular season and the playoffs. And it hadn't been done. I didn't realize hockey in Scotland had been there since, in the 30s, before the war, right? So the last time somebody had won all 4 trophies in Great Britain was like 1947 or 48, and we were the first group to do it. since then. And
Wow.
we were the only Scottish-based team. There was us, and then there was, I think, 8 teams in England and 1 in Wales. And Belfast wasn't in the league yet at that point. But yeah, it was a heck of an experience over there. The hockey was as closest to North America as you'll find. I mean,
yeah,
your first tussle or your first fight that you got in, the ref would like you, and they just give everybody 2+2 for roughing. And then if you got in another fight, it would be 2+2 for each guy for roughing. And then if you got in a third one, then they boot you and you'd have to sit a game. But they usually give you 2 freebies over there, and it was a real good place to really learn how to defend for yourself. You know what I mean? Because everybody was kind of just coming together at that time. And then once we figured it out as a group, but I played with a lot of great guys over there. Joey Middlestead played with us over there. Sean Byram,
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Angelo Cantanero.
That's a fantastic experience. Okay, a little bit of technical difficulty there, but that's not the first time it happened. It won't be the last. Wolfie, I can't remember exactly where we were. I asked you about Air Scottish Eagles, but right after that, you had a 3-year stint in Regensburg. And I know that you learned a bit of German. You love the culture there. You've told me about stories about playing there before. And I'm curious, what brought you there in the first place? And do you still have any connections in Europe on either side with Scotland or in Regensburg? Regensburg's in Germany, by the way, for those who don't know.
Yeah, Regensburg's in Germany. It's about 110 kilometers northeast of Munich towards the Czech border. So it was a great time playing there. I went there again because, my mom was stationed twice in Germany, once with her father in the military, once with my father, obviously. And then my father was stationed there, and my brother was born up in Iserlohn.
Oh, nice.
Just off the military base up there. So I wanted to go back and kind of follow the footsteps of, kind of where, the Wolf name originated in Germany. And so I just kind of wanted to follow the footsteps and kind of see where, our family tree had come from and, walk the same path over there. So that's how it all started.
Light it up. Wolf, they must have loved you. You got a German name. You come in there as some import. I mean, most people like me, I wouldn't have a clue. I played ball hockey in Germany. I love Germany. By the way, could not believe how big it was. Like cities like Cologne that I think, like, I hear that, I'm like, well, it's a smaller city in Europe, got like 2 million people. It is fucking huge. I loved every minute of it. But you got the name Wolf. For those that don't know, WOOLF. It's obvious that you're German, and you're coming in from this other planet seemingly, and these fans are getting to see it, and you fucking light it up, man. That must have been a laugh, was it?
It was a blast playing there. Like I got there because Jerzy Lala used to play in the CCCP team, the old team, and he was fantastic. I played with him in Scotland. He'd lit it up all over the world. He just unfortunately didn't make it across the NHL. Him and Eric Kuhnackel, his son Tom Kuhnackel played in Pittsburgh. Right, Eric was They called him the German Gretzky. He was a centerman. He was 6'7" off the ice.
I did not know that. I know exactly who you're talking about. Never saw any footage or anything. Back in the day, you would read the hockey news and they'd have stats, and you look at Hockey DB now and you see these common denominators. I didn't know he was that big.
Yeah, he was awesome, and that's how we got there. And me and John Spoltor actually went over there. Johnny, God rest his soul, but Johnny was he was loved by them as well. You know what I mean? We came over and played together. We only had 5 imports, so between me and Johnny, we just kind of lit it up over there, and they took to us because we had a bit of fun off the ice too. It was later in our careers, you know what I mean? So I think the German society, they called Regensburg back in the day the LA of Germany. So everybody would go out to dinner and they dressed to the nines just to go out for dinner. They'd come to the hockey game and they'd be in suits and ties. It was a great environment. The rink before that probably wasn't that packed. And the first shift, I remember David Musil, he was drafted by somebody, I think Pittsburgh. He was playing in Wolfsburg, and he kind of picked the puck up in the corner and turned around. He cut to the middle of the ice, and I came from the right side to the left and hit him so hard and knocked him out. It was my first hit and knocked him out cold. And that rink was crazy. And then after that rink was packed full, and we terrorized teams coming in there. And Martin Ančička played there. He was a fantastic Czechoslovakian German-born player, and he was our captain
there too, right? They love their beers in Germany.
They do. I mean, this is the favorite time right now. You know, I think it's coming to an end in a couple of days. Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
If you've never been, you got to go because it's.
I was I was in Munich one year for Oktoberfest. I played. Look, I won't get into it. It's your interview, but I don't know if you knew. I played in Cincinnati in '01, and our owners were Cuba Gooding Jr. and Phil Esposito. And they said, be at camp early. And I was like, we're going to like September 11th. It's weird for the coast. And we went and they took us over to Europe and we played like 4 teams from Austria and 4 from Italy. And then, we had time in the middle and we went to the Oktoberfest in Munich. Yeah, I can't even explain to people what it was. Just like a bunch of tents, Wolfie. The version I went to, there's like 8 huge, factory big tents, like huge. And they were just lying. It was just people drinking those big, whatever you call them, like 3 beers in one. What do you call those things? What? Masse. Holy shit, man!
Yeah, it's a liter of beer in a mug.
A liter of beer in a mug, and you're drinking all day, and I'm wondering. I remember saying to the guys, like, I wish I played a couple in Germany because you hear about it. I see stats. I know all about the league, but I didn't get to play any in Germany. And I'm like, can you imagine like a rink with these fans that love beer so much, like watching our level or our brand of hockey? Like you said, you hit somebody, they went nuts. Doesn't surprise me. Look, you brought up Johnny Spoltor. Try to tell people there's some players I saw score in the minors, and if you back then again with no YouTube, if you didn't come across these people, you would only know them from their stats. He's gone now. He died about maybe 10 years ago, and I didn't know him. I met him after a San Diego Gulls stint. For those that don't know, I asked Wolfie about the Scottish team, and then I just asked him about the German team. In the middle, Wolfie went to play in San Diego Gulls 3 years in the West Coast League, late 90s, early 2000s, and that's when I was there. So we got to know each other. I'd be on the road playing. You guys, was the bar named Chill Coots? There was a bar we used to go to.
Yeah, I think that was one of them. The Beachcomber too, because I can't remember his name.
Chill Coots was in Anchorage, I think.
Oh, Chill Coots was in Anchorage. Yeah, you're right.
There was a bar in San Diego. Anyway, look, again, we could go in for 5 hours, Wolfie. When I played in San Diego, I said, this is the best minor league place I've ever seen. I mean, I'm in the minors playing for the Montreal Canadiens, our farm team. Not that we were treated poorly. I love Fredericton. I'm from Atlantic Canada. But when I got down and saw, I'm like, people have been playing in this, like palm trees. And it's one thing with all the other places, Wolfie. I played in Orlando. I loved it. But San Diego, oh God, do I love it. You played 3 full years there. Johnny Spoltor, you guys won. Your rings were bigger than my head. Tell us a little bit about Spoltor and a little bit about San Diego.
Well, yeah, Johnny was just a fantastic player. Me, him, and Dennis Purdy played together. Dennis Purdy being from the
and you played roller hockey with those guys too, right?
Yeah, with more with Purds. Johnny, we kind of met because we had Mike Taylor as our center first, and then Steve Martinson wanted to make a change, and Johnny was a heck of a fit for me and Dennis. You know what I mean? Denny. Yeah. I lived with Dennis for probably 9 years. I played with him in Scotland for 3 years. I played with him in San Diego. We played roller hockey the whole 6 years together in San Jose. And I met Dennis I met him at the All-Star game in the East Coast Hockey League our very first year. He was playing for the Johnstown Chiefs where they filmed Slapshot. And we decided to have a beer or two together, and we were a little hungover for the skate the next morning, and been best buddies ever since. So
yeah. That's wild. So I wouldn't know where to go with all this because San Diego, I got so many stories. It was just so much fun. I love the West Coast League. Now for those that don't know, the East Coast League it kind of absorbed it all. So like if you think about the East Coast, Anchorage ain't in it. San Diego ain't in the East Coast, but they just absorbed it all. So now I think it's the ECHL. They don't even call it the East Coast League anymore. But before that, Wolfie and I played. There was 9 teams my first year. I played in Colorado one year and Idaho the next. And but we would fly everywhere. And I was used to the AHL, and I'd had a few injury setbacks. But so that level was. I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying. People are like, why didn't you go to the AHL that year? I was holding out of Montreal, and I'm like, you know what? I want to go somewhere that I really want to go and enjoy it. I'm sick of being told where to go. And I went to Colorado Springs, Wolfie, and I was like, oh, and then I'm coming in. I just played in Fredericton. Like, this is fucking the minors. This is the most established hockey team with the heritage, you could say one of the most famous sporting franchises on the planet. And again, I had nothing wrong with Freddie or anything or the deals we were on. I was making 67.5 US. So I got 100 Canadian. It was great. But I'm looking at it when I pull in, and Craig Lyons and Zach Boyer and Carl LeBlanc, and these guys are showing up in like $100,000 rigs. They're in their house, right? They're getting everything paid for. They're getting good money. And I won't say who, but we were getting money on the cap and then under the cap because there was a salary cap in that league, and you'd get a golden handshake with your check every week. And I'm going, holy shit, these guys are making more. Like Leo told me, he goes, I was up in Springfield. I wasn't really sure, but he goes like, I think I could have kept playing up there, but it was just great in these teams. He goes, Long Beach, Colorado Springs were awesome. And I was making way more than I was in the A. And I'm going, you know what? This is fucking wild. All these, and in those leagues, you get everything paid for. So what the team would do, at least with us, probably with you, I don't know if you're even at liberty to say, same thing in Idaho, you'd go there and they put like your bonus, quote unquote, would be like a down payment on a house. And then, so when they're paying your rent, they're just paying, and whenever you're ready to go, it could be 8 years later. Then you can sell the house. That's a little bit extra money you got. You can have roommates, whatever it is that they're paying for. It's wild when I saw the structure, and you're flying everywhere. And it's cities like, again, I got nothing against fucking Fredericton or St. John or Worcester or Lowell. Hey, it's where I was playing. It's good. We got a game. I'm going to put my fucking game face on and play it. But when all of a sudden it's Phoenix, Bakersfield, San Diego, Long Beach, Idaho, Colorado Springs, Anchorage, I'm going, I felt like I'm finally home. I fucking loved it. And I know that's a long way to state it, but that's how I felt about that league. The best place to play there was San Diego. You guys won it. So, Wolfie, my question for you is, in all that time, here we've been talking about, and then afterwards senior hockey, which we'll get into, and all the roller hockey, you made so many connections. Do you, like, more than anybody that I know in the game, even in the NHL, you played in so many leagues and so much roller hockey and senior hockey, and then, you were a rep, you're all over. Do you have connections in these places? Do you go back and visit a lot of these places that you played in?
Absolutely. I mean, I go to San Diego probably almost once a year before COVID anyways. You know what I mean? I still go back and see my buddies there. I go down and see Purdy in Minnesota. He's running a bank down there now. But a lot of the places they play, and you always have friends. In Germany, Scotland, I'm still in touch with a lot of my friends over there.
Good.
In Germany, a lot of people didn't know, but Sportagon was a player agency that me and another guy and some lawyers started over there while I was playing there, and it was a bad idea. But in the end, they ended up buying me out of that part and moving along. But getting back to San Diego, San Diego was like each place that we play holds a special dear to our hearts. We all know this as we play. You know what I mean? Some places more than others. Germany, I loved. Scotland, I loved. San Diego, obviously, I loved them. But it had some special meaning there. When we won it that year, that was the year that BJ. If you remember, that's the year that BJ broke his neck and he lost.
McPherson, McPherson, right, was his name. I do, dude. They did a fucking thing for him before the game, and I remember twice in my life, because there's a lot of charity stuff and fundraisers and memorials before games. But I was crying on the bench. I had goosebumps, and it was terrible. He broke his neck right in a game.
Yeah, it was a heck of a series that we had, between us and you guys in Idaho there. You guys coming in and beating us the first 2 games at home, and then go up there. Game 3 is when, Adam Borchevsky kind of kneed him in the back of the neck as he fell down in front of the net there. And BJ lost all his motor skills right off the start, right from the start. It was an awful incident, and it took a lot out. And we ended up coming back and I think winning in overtime that night, and then beating you guys the next night, and then kind of beating you the next night. And then we came home with a 3-2 lead coming off the road. Nobody had won a game yet. And come home, and like you said, the video tribute that they did to him, and the number 28 towels that they were rolling in that rink, and there was 21,000 people in that rink that night in San Diego, packed to the rafters it was. And seeing that, and as most guys who played the game realize that, when you're that emotional, it's tough to control your emotions. And I mean, that's what we do best as pros, and until we unleash them. But I think it took a little bit too much energy out of us that night, and I think you guys end up beating us 5-0, and then of course we ended up winning 4-1 in Game 7. But it was not knowing how he was doing. It happened up in Boise. Dr. Zimmerman was a neck specialist that was world renowned, and he actually just moved to Boise because there were so many rodeo injuries of guys getting their neck stepped on by horses, by bulls, right? And he tried this new technique on BJ and kind of fixed BJ, man. And we were dumbfounded. And then just before Game 7, it's still emotional, but Steve Martinson came in, did his rah-rah speech, kind of get us going. And he said, want to introduce somebody who wants to say hi to you guys. And they wheeled him in on in a wheelchair, man.
Holy fuck.
You could hear the cockroaches farting in that dressing room, man. It was that quiet. And then, BJ just kind of, made his unselfish speech as our captain as he was, right? And then he's like, boys, it's going to be all right. And he just kind of lifted his left foot up just ever so slightly and wiggled his ankle. And boom. Just like that, you see that he's okay. He's got some movement in his body, and it gives you hope that he's going to walk again someday. And it was a long road for BJ, and BJ obviously walks to this day and, has a little bit of issue. But, yeah, it was a wild time. And so, that ring means I won a lot of rings in my career, and that one is definitely, holds a pretty special meaning.
And it's even, it's 2 decades. I remember seeing a lot of championship rings, right? You play hockey, you see a lot of championship rings. And I distinctly remember that being one of the nicest that I've ever seen. Still to this day. It seems that every year, every ring is one-upped. You'd think 20 years ago, but it's beautiful. And I'm glad, that's a great story. Well, it's an inspirational story. I won't say a great story. Someone hurts themselves. But you know what I mean? And I get a feeling of community in San Diego. It wasn't just the environment. You guys were a tight-knit team. I got to see it a little bit myself. And just the community really embraced you. They didn't have hockey for a while, and I was really disappointed. Now it's back, and I'm glad. It's one of the best places I've ever played. Now, Wolf, I don't want to keep you all day, but we go to before we get there, actually, I want people to realize that there was a pro hockey league. You and my buddy Darren Colburn really lit it up. And I guess I can't brush over it. It's too big a part, I think, of hockey history that people don't talk about. I watched the game, folks, with my own eyes. I'd heard about it. I got drafted to the Montreal Canadiens. I haven't mentioned that yet. I'm staying in the Manoir Lemoyne. It's a hotel right next to the Montreal Forum. I get brought in a little bit early for camp and everything, right? Meet the press and everything. They brought in me and Saku Koivu. And I remember the night before, I have nothing to do. And I went down, and they're like, there's a roller hockey game. They said an inline game at the Forum. I went down, man, to watch, was at San Jose, was it? Play, or Anaheim. No, San Jose Rhinos play the Montreal Roadrunners. I get to the rink. It is jammed. It's jammed. It actually ends up being, the boys won it. It ended up being the last championship that it was ever won in the Forum. And it was packed. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. It was no different than watching, except obviously there's no ice. And the rules are slightly different. And I think fascinating. 4-on-4, wheeling, way more physical than I thought. And I was like, this is a world that no one really even knows about. Again, it was right before social media. I think if you guys had that, it would have stayed. But there was teams all over North America selling out, 20,000. Like, people don't realize that. So, fuck, I got to ask you, how did you get there? It must have been fucking awesome to play pro roller hockey. And you guys ended up winning a world championship, right?
Yeah, we did. Yep. We ended up beating Montreal there. It all started, Roy Sommer, who's he's in the San Jose Sharks system. He was assistant coach there, I think now. He was my coach my very first year in the East Coast Hockey League in Roanoke Valley. And he just called me. He's like, hey, do you want to come and try this? Well, back up. But Roy was born in Oakland. So he was a shoe-in for the job in San Jose, him and his wife, Melissa, and his 2 sons at the time, Marley. Marley is a special needs kid. He's a great kid. Still is to this day, obviously. That's how it started. Richard Shillington was our owner. He was an oil and gas guy from Calgary, and Doug Wilson. Doug Wilson was a part of that. And, Doug being a part of that right from the start brought us instant credibility. And then, when we started, he's like, do you want to come out and try this roller hockey? I'm like, roller what?
Yeah.
I literally had to ask him, hey, are we playing on four wheels or what's the deal here? And he's like, no, they got these new inline skates. They all come in a line, the four wheels. I said, all right, come out and give it a try. And just for me, it was just a natural fit. It was, you weaved yourself up the floor in the beginning. And if you could watch that guys couldn't stop and come back at you, then you could adjust the game and really rip it. I mean, and playing that game that if you can shoot the puck close to 100 miles an hour in hockey, well, that thing's moving 120, 130 with a roller hockey puck once you get a hold of it, right? And so, I mean, that's how it all started. And Roy was that whole era with Darren Colburn and all us guys that played there are starting guys. Most of the guys were playing out of Richmond the next year because that's where Roy had went to coach that year. So a lot of those guys, Colburn was playing in Dayton at that time.
Yeah.
And then so we all came and we lived there together. Me, Colburn, and Dennis Birdie actually all lived together in this big, massive condo with our wives and girlfriends back then. But
in San Jose.
It was in San Jose. Yeah, we lived right in the hood. Really, is where we were, and the gang guys were loving us. We got us to sign their white jerseys, and they'd be wearing them around the neighborhood. It was wild.
Hey, man, hockey players drinking at the bar. I know. I met some shady characters over the course of my career, and I don't mind at all. I'm like, hey, rather be on their good side than their bad. Fine to me.
Absolutely.
That is wild. That's another thing, right? Like, again, all this happened because you can shoot a puck. Like, it's just fucking wild. I say to people, you're here telling me these stories that I'm still fascinated by. And they are, I guess, they're like I said earlier, they're right before so much spotlight was put on sports in general or the world with social media. All you'd need is YouTube. You show a bunch of kids, 20,000 people watching roller hockey. That game, 4-on-4, wheeling around. I loved playing. I think it'd really catch on because I say it because it clearly had caught on. There was something. I don't want to get into it, but something went amiss with the planning of that league because it was on the scene. It burst onto the scene. Everybody loved it. Like you said, I'm in Montreal, the mecca of hockey in the world, you could argue, at least. I don't want to be biased. You could argue. And it's packed and people are loving it. And there was cheerleaders that had a different vibe than an NHL game, because they were doing some new marketing stuff. I thought it was wild. For those that don't know, I did play 1 year on Team Canada with Wolfie in 2004. I didn't play pro roller hockey. Every single other player on the team did. I didn't really deserve to be there, but I played locally here and I could hold my own. But we ended up making the final, and we lost on Canada Day. Am I right? To the USA 3-2 in London, Ontario, in our own barn. But we had a blast doing it in overtime. I had a blast doing it, though. Was that the last time you played on Team Canada?
That was the last time, yeah. No, sorry. I think I played one more time after that. I think it was the Pan American Games. I went down.
Oh, yeah.
And the rink down there, we was in Santo Domingo in Dominican Republic. And you only had 10 guys. That's all they brought. That's all the teams were allowed to bring. So, again, the rink was not set up like a rink. It was in some warehouse in the middle of Santo Domingo. And the corners were just these little boards that were just.
No fucking way. That's something big with the Pan Am game. Is that the one the goalie got? Fucked you with the steroids?
No, that was in Winnipeg. Yeah, afterwards.
There was one though. Remember, there was a Pan Am Games where there was I don't know the guy's name, but I guess Canada's medals got taken away or something. He was steroids.
He tested positive after the games.
Yeah, whatever it was. I don't really know. I don't care. But the only reason I remember is because I was really rooting for roller hockey to like Pan Am Games is one step away from the Olympics, and I think they were like looking at it for that reason. And so it kind of put a black mark on a good situation. I just remember that. But so this all brings us to the Bentley Generals, 2007, 2008. So Wolfie and I played in this place is historic in Canadian senior hockey Allen Cup history. For those that don't know, when I say senior hockey, it's merely over 20. It's not like 65, and it makes it seem like some rec league, like drinking while you're playing slow pitch. It's not that. It's semi-pro, especially the guys we were pulling in. Everybody on our team played pro. Bentley is about 25 minutes. Help me here if I'm wrong. Northwest of Red Deer. And it's got 700 people in the town. It's got a tiny little rink with what do you call them out back? Not stables, but there's cows. Yeah. And we go in there and, they entered this league and Wolfie and I were going to go play on another team, but it was too much of a gong show. I don't want to get into that, I suppose. and we had nowhere to play. So we joined this team. And over the course of that year, we ended up making the Allen Cup fucking final. We lost, and all the way, the senior hockey team's all over. And we went all the way with the Bentley Generals, little town from, it was a story on TSN, and made the final. But in between, it was a lot of fun. Do you remember the bar we used to drink at?
At Monkey Top.
The Monkey Top in Bentley, Alberta. Wow. There was some, like, anybody walked through that door was a character. They had stories. Wolfie, that was, I think that might be my favorite hole in the wall to have a beer ever. You felt like you were on another planet. It's like, even Red Deer's not big, but you're like, we're 25 minutes like west. There's no one passing through here. There's no one like accidentally. It's like when you go to Stettler. You're in Stettler. There's nobody accidentally passing through. It's not like Red Deer where, hey, I'm in Edmonton. I'm on the way to Calgary. Like, there's old timers, there's stories, there's laborers for like 80 years, and they come in and all they want is a fucking cold beer and to tell a story. I loved it. You remember those days?
Well, we ran into lots of old Bentley Generals that played there. You know what I mean? All of a sudden we're running these guys that are 60, 70 years old. They played on Bentley way back in the day, right? So
yeah,
hockey tradition there was. I had no idea, and then you realize that the Sutters, Brian Sutter coached there for a long time,
Yeah, man. It's got a huge hockey, and it's a historic Canadian town if you look at it, because it's right. It was there because it was on the railway like years ago. Like it found itself. There's a lot of those towns, obviously, in Canada. But they're my favorite kind to like get a story. I don't know. I do the same here. Once in a while, I'll drive to like. Well, you were in Corner Brook, which is fairly big for Newfoundland standards. I mean, 30 or 40,000. It's beyond a little town. But along the way, I don't know, Arnold's Cove, Joe Betts Arm, Fogo. There's places you can go that are way off the beaten path that remind me. It's similar. Fish and rod for the hay baler, whatever it is. It's very similar people.
That's right.
So that happens. We went all the way to the final. We picked some guys. We were in Bentley. So I guess for those that don't know, we drew from Edmonton and Calgary. We had a great senior hockey team, but there was a couple other great teams in our area. We beat Stony Plain in 7 games, I believe, and then we went up to play in Fort St. John. Do you remember what the format was when we went to Fort St. John? It was a 3 out of 5 for those that are keeping score.
Yeah.
It was 5 fucking games in 5 nights, all in Fort St. John. That was the setup. Okay. Do you remember the place being packed? And do you remember them putting beers along the outside of the glass, and so the players would try to hit and knock the empties over?
Yeah.
And they let us know in warm up that we're just gonna, because Wolfie and I led the league by quite a lot in scoring. I remember that. I think it was called the Chinook Hockey League, 24 game schedule maybe. And so they knew that we had a great team. There was lots of other great players, but me and Wolfie were definitely our 1-2 power play. We're getting the tap. Like I said, we led the league in scoring. So I remember them coming in warm up. Not that we were ever fucking intimidated either, but I was looking around and they let us know, we're coming to hit you. We're going to keep fucking hitting you. We're going to keep fucking hitting you. We're going to keep hitting you. And they were like trying to put a snarl on it. We didn't have a team that was pushed over. We had tough guys. But I just remember that feeling. I remember looking at you going like, we're going to have to really bring our lunch pails here. Like, this isn't like going to Fort Saskatchewan with the Olympic size rink. You might get hit twice by a big guy, but it's kind of a walk in the park. This was hard. It's as hard hockey as I've ever played. I remember both of us getting injured. I had like a rib kind of cartilage thing. What do you remember what happened behind the net when we got thrown out?
I can't remember.
You fought one of those guys, Wolfie. They came. You really, if you snapped, you snapped. So we went behind there, and I believe it was the end. It was like they were close. It was like 3-3. Like their plan was working, right? We couldn't get free. It was a smaller rink. They were right on top of us. I think we might have been up 1-0 at the time, but this wasn't a gimme. It seemed like a long way. And you just looked at me and said, fuck it. Like at some point we got to do this. And we dropped our gloves. There were 3 brothers on the team. I can't remember their names. I think we fought 2 of them. But anyway, it was kind of a turning point. We went in the dressing room, and Donnie Morrison scored a D that we just picked up from the A the year before. You remember Donnie?
Yeah, Donnie was awesome.
Yeah. He scored, I think, in OT, and then we went on to win the third one. But that was it certainly wasn't easy. It was real hockey. We overcame it, and we went to the Allen Cup, and it was a fairly good performance. Do you remember much about that?
I do, yeah. Go back to the Mackenzie Cup in Fort St. John's, what you're talking about there. I remember us sitting on the bench and me, you, and Rubes, Sean Robertson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's it, man. It's either we take the game over here, whatever we got to do, or we're not going.
You saying those words specifically. I do. You're like, we're in it now. Like, you looked at me and you're like, we're in it. We're in it. The place was, Wolfie, fucking vibrating. It was vibrating. You couldn't hear yourself think. And they were close, and it was working. I was like, fuck. Anyway, I can't say I was. I mean, I know I'm competitive. I'm a player. I just mean I wasn't expecting such a vicious kind of series. And you just looked at me and you said to us, like, we got to sack up, boys. Like, and you're a scorer. You're fucking by no means a pushover, but we didn't need you to be fighting. But you were like, at some point, we got to do this, or they're going to keep running us, and let's just leave it in their hands. And we fucking went out and tapped a couple guys up. Well, they got some good ones in, but I remember falling on my guy in the net. I'm like, at least fucking technically I won this fight. Fuck you, spitting. Fuck you, getting thrown fucking batteries and beer cans thrown at us on the way off. But then we won, awesome. And they were down 2-0. Remember that shit?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. It was awesome, man.
What a bus ride home, though.
Oh, geez. It was a long bus ride up and a fun bus ride home, that's for sure.
Next, you come to... What's that?
Going to the Allen Cup after that, you know what I mean? Again, it was set up, it's tough for senior hockey players. Most of us guys were working and stuff at the same time, you know what I mean? We only practiced once or twice a week. So we played that in 3 games and 3 nights, which was good that we didn't have to play 5 games in the Mackenzie Cup. But then we went to the Allen Cup there, and they're set up as well like that is 5 games and 5 nights, you know what I mean? So it's still the same. The Allen Cup back then for the 5 games and 5 nights was tough on our legs. We had a lot of older guys. I remember playing Brampton in the finals, and Brampton having a lot of old pros too. You know what I mean? A lot of guys.
They had a lot. They were real similar. Brantford is where it was.
Brantford, yeah, that's right. It was held in Brantford, and meeting Mr. Gretzky and having being able to have a conversation with Mr. Gretzky was one of the highlights of my career, because I had not met that man before that, and just he knew everybody in the game, and it was just such a special soul, right?
I'll tell you what's a weird stat. You and I have both lost major championships in 2 games, and he dropped the puck. He dropped the puck in London when we lost the World Championship. And then we go to the Allen Cup just a few years later, and it's in Brantford. For those that don't know, that's where he's from. That's where Wayne Gretzky's famous backyard is, that he learned to play hockey. And Brent Gretzky was playing on the team, Brantford Blast, that we played against. Right. So they had his father, Walter, come out and drop the puck. And I looked at Wolfie and I said, well, we're due now, right? He's not going to drop the puck twice. But that was at the end of a long road, Wolfie. I remember us, but I don't remember what you had. But I had a major, and like it really hurt. Like I had to take like 2 months away from everything at the end of that. It was when I breathed. It was in my rib cage, and it kind of wrapped up around my shoulder, and it just inched up. But like you said, it was hard. Like, the year is the year, the hockey season. You're playing games on the weekends, 24 games, when like in pro you would have a lot more games played by that point. But you said people got jobs and everything. But then all of a sudden, when you start the playoffs, it was a lot. I remember it was like Fort St. John, Stony Plain, which went 7 games in like 10 days. And then fucking up there for the possible 5-5. They were 3, but they were real hard. And then we went, like, I remember Jim Vandermeer taking needles before the game. Donnie, like I mentioned, not overly tough. Like, he's not going to be intimidated. But I remember him wrapping up his shoulder. Kevin Smith played real hurt. I remember Ryan Smith's brother there, those that don't know, lost his eye and playing pro, kept playing. Fucking tough son of a gun, real good player, real big, run you over, and had the talent to go with it. But he was hurt too. I think, look, I look back and I go, on all that, we went up there. We had no idea in September where we were going to be playing, and we ended up second in Canada. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a fantastic experience, right? And we didn't really even have a coach that year, remember? Yeah. Sutter was in there the year before. I think if we had Sutsy on our bench, I think it would have been a no-brainer for a win.
Probably.
I think Bentley, ended up moving to Lacombe after that and winning the LM Cup a couple times. And it's great to be a part of that. That we're getting them over that hump to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, and be a part of that, right? So be a part of that glorified history that they had there in that senior hockey was great to be a part of, right? So
I look at each place. I guess I've played on your team, on your line, in Bentley and Corner Brook, and then we had that experience in London. And one thing I can say about each group, because you can, I mean, I played a long time too, man, is, not every, like, each group I just mentioned, it was a real unit. Like those guys with the roller hockey, I mean, I still talk to half that team. I didn't even know anybody coming in. That was just a week out of my life, not a year, right? And then these other teams we played on, they're kind of defined by just a real good bunch of guys. We like to go out there. It was the last of the old school. Like after the game, it was kind of given that we were going to go for a beer together, we've always done, and then we're going to go out and train together and try to, train in that play together. Anyway, I have fond memories of all of it.
The NFL season is going strong, and DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking new customers up with an offer that's even stronger. Bet $5 on any game this week to score $200 instantly in bonus bets. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweetener offer every game day this October. Get in on the game day greatness. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets when you bet $5 on the NFL. That's promo code THPN, as in the Hockey Podcast Network, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours with promo code THPN and DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Licensee partner, Golden Nugget Lake Charles, LA. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources.
Now, I know I've kept you. I said it was only going to be an hour. It's a little bit more than that. I have a last section or last little segment called Rapid Fire Randoms, just kind of lighthearted layups. Would you mind sticking around for some Rapid Fire Randoms?
Bring it.
Okay, here we go. Mark Woolf, Rapid Fire Randoms. If you had a superpower, what would that superpower be? What would you want? Not would it be?
I would like to fly.
You would like the ability to fly. Have you ever, by the way, thought about being a pilot?
You know what? A bunch of years back, my girl got me some helicopter lessons, and I took a couple of them, and it was more of the classroom stuff, and I didn't get around to actually getting in the air. So I might revisit that come here later in life here.
Interesting. I remember you telling me something about that. That's why I asked. You're on death row. You can have one more meal. What would that meal be?
I'm a huge sausage and pierogies kind of guy. So
sausage and pierogies. Pierogies are Ukrainian, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, that's a thing. Now, of course, you can get them frozen. Everybody knows what they are. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I mean, over here, Newfoundland, I hadn't heard of a pierogi till I moved out west. And then I went to some places. I remember I went to stay with a buddy in Vegreville. A couple of my teammates are from there, from junior. Damon Lankow went on to play in the show, and Zenith Komarniski, who played a little bit in the NHL. But they were from Vegreville. And that whole section, you know, in Sheldon Surrey's from Fishing Lake. If you go beyond that, St. Paul, there's places that I just had no idea. And they're this delicacy. And I love them, but I'd never heard of them ever. And they didn't come here for like 10 years after that. And now they're kind of everywhere here.
Now they're everywhere. Yeah.
We were once in a gas station. I don't know if you remember. You must. And the Prime Minister walked in, Stephen Harper. Yeah. If you could get caught in a gas station right now, with only a rock star or an athlete, who would you want it to be?
Oh, rock star and athlete. I think my rock star would be.
I guess music maker wouldn't have to be rock.
Yeah, I think the Rolling Stones would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
To see Mick Jagger in there.
They just came out with a new single called "Angry." Check it out after this. I can't believe it. Sounds like 50 years ago.
Yeah, I can't believe they keep going out. He's got to be 80 years old. That's insane to me.
Just had a single, and it's like, I don't know where it is. I don't know how charts work anymore, but it's like getting a lot of airplay, and people love it. Critics are loving it. The album is Hackney Diamonds, and they're 80, not 60,
80,
not even
60.
70, 80.
That's insane, man.
That's fucking insane, Wolfie. What? Like what? 80, and they're out being the Stones. Being the Stones, like fuck. Anyway, that's a good. It's a great. Any of the Rolling Stones, that would be great to get caught in the gas station, and let's say athlete for shits and giggles. And I'm assuming because what I remember about that is I regret not saying anything. I don't know if you did. I didn't. So I'm like, if I ever get caught in a fucking gas station with someone again, I'm going to ask them a question. Just not even to get political. I just like the prime minister is right fucking in front of me, and I didn't say anything. That's why I say that.
Yeah, I remember us going down there. It was 11:30 at night. We went down to get some supplies, and I remember walking in the store, and this really large woman came up to me, and she's like, he'll be gone in a minute. Just hang out here, and everything will be good.
Yeah, I remember that.
We were kind of like, what the hell is she talking about? And then you look around the store, and there's about 10 or 12 other large gentlemen in there, and I'm like, and then
exactly what I remember.
And Mr. Harper was in the back with his daughter getting her a Slurpee. I think it was Christmas Eve or a couple of days before Christmas, maybe the 24th or 23rd.
You're exactly right. It was right around there. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember us taking the Mini Cooper convertible up there, and we had the roof down on it, and it had toques on going up there.
The fucking Mini Cooper convertible. I loved it though. That was a great rig. Do you still have that rig?
Someone does. I don't have it. Yeah.
I see. Someone does. Yeah. Well, I fucking loved it. Wheeling around in that. That was a nice little car. That was a nice area of Calgary. What was it again? The north part?
Yeah, the northwest, Tuscany, Blue Ridge.
Tuscany. Yeah. I've been back a lot since. I hadn't been to that part of Calgary at that time. Okay, you're a DJ. You got to be a DJ. This is it. Your oil drilling fell through. Your hockey contacts are gone. In this hypothetical world, you have to be a DJ, but you're a good one. You're going to make good money. You're excited. But the group that's hiring you says, no, you're not going to be Mark Woolf. You got to be one of these DJ names. What do you want to be? DJ Bubba Gump, M Daddy Bling, Wolf Master Flash, or Bow Wow Wolf?
I love the Bow Wow Wolf. That's my favorite.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, you know what? When I thought of that question, I wasn't making a link, but we used to play, I don't know if you remember, you must, when you would have a big game, because I would be doing the tunes, and I would play Clap for the Wolfman in the dressing room. You remember I would play that a lot? Surrounding you, whatever it was, you scored, you fought, or whatever you did. So I don't know if you know who the Wolfman is. You probably should. So the Wolfman was a disc jockey. He called himself Wolfman Jack, and he was on the radio, and he was trying to imitate a lot of people. The first time the word rock and roll was coined, it was Alan Freed, and Alan Freed had a show, the Moondog Show. So if you ever hear the opening to Drew Carey, it was in Cleveland. To that show, there's a song called Cleveland Rocks by the Presidents of the United States of America. Well, that's originally way back. I think it's Ian Hunter. It's way back in the 70s. But in the remake, they go, hey, hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Moondog Show. And that's Alan Freed doing so. And then Wolfman Jack, his favorite blues guy was Howlin' Wolf. So he kind of combined both. And then he ended up being this huge DJ that would really influence the music industry. That's why the words go, clap for the Wolfman. He's going to make your record hot. Clap for the Wolfman. He's going to bring it till it always. In other words, he influences he's going to make your record high. That's it. He's going to make your record high. Because he had the influence, and if you got to know the Wolfman and had beers with him and everything, and you had a good tune, he also had good taste. But lots of songs with good taste don't get on the radio. But it was like, you got to get to know the Wolfman, and you're going to be a lot more popular. Anyway, that's where that comes from.
He had the rubber bands in his beard, didn't he?
Yes. Well, he was one of the first to do that persona. Yes. He used to do he'd make himself look like a wolf, and then he did do the rubber bands on both sides. You've got a great fucking memory, I tell you that, because I probably told you that drunk somewhere in the Monkey Top or over the years. By the way, that little bar right down there by the Harper gas station, that wasn't bad either.
Yeah.
Hardest punch you ever took?
Who? It was Mark Cipriano. Cipriano was he was a rookie with the Regina Pats. He was coming out of North Shore. He's buddies with Sasha Lakovic and those guys that came out of there. That same kind of Rob Sangster.
So tough on the ice and off the ice.
On the ice, it was Sip. Sip was a Golden Gloves boxer from BC. Off the ice would have been my brother, probably.
Oh, no. I was saying the guy you fought, if you hung out with Sasha Lakovic, was tough on the ice and off the ice.
Oh, Sasha was crazy, man. Like, not crazy, but I mean,
he had a rep off the ice as being a fucking guy who would throw down with anybody.
I first met him, man. I first met him in Columbus, right? He came to us in Columbus with Terry Ruskowski, and Roscoe said, "Wolfie, he's your rookie. You got to look after him." And I was like, "Okay, sweet." And Sash was ripped to shreds, man. Bald head, shaved his head back then, and it was the very first time when he got his nickname, the Pitbull. He fought somebody, Chris McSorley's team. Toledo was in town, and they were fairly tough too.
They always had a tough team.
Thompson was playing on that team too, and Poto. I played with Poto a couple of different places. He's the toughest guy I ever played the game with, by the way. But a
lot of people tell me the same shit, man.
Yeah. Sasha ended up beating the piss out of somebody, man, and he got on all fours in front of their bench and started barking at him like a fucking dog. And I just looked back at Roscoe and said, "Thanks, man. Appreciate that." So. So
I've heard,
and knowing those guys years later, like when Sasha played in Bakersfield, when we were in that West Coast, and being that good of friends with Sasha, he was big and strong, and he had crazy stories, man. He ended up going over to Qatar and teaching that king over there martial arts, because he was into martial arts from a young age, and then they ended up flying guys over in commercial airplanes, and that king built an arena in the middle of the desert so that the king could have a Saturday night hockey game, and then everybody be buddies, but it would be kind of like a show, man. And it went on for quite a while. I remember Sasha asked me if I wanted to come over, and I was working in the patch drilling at that point, and I was like, "No, I can't come, Sasha. I'm sorry, but that sounds like an amazing time for sure." But
incredible where you find yourself, right? Yeah. Incredible the ride that pro hockey can take you on. But I just remember, look, there's guys. Wolfie, I did it. As soon as I put on the gear, I go out there, and sometimes I'd even, fuck it, let's get in a fight tonight. But there are people that love it, and that I found them those are like dangerous guys. You really got to be on. I didn't mind fighting them at all, but I'm like, this is a different element. This guy loves fighting. Like, he loves it. He loves fighting. Like, I want to go out there and score a goal. So be fucking ready and be respectful. And in the box, I would always be respectful. Talk to those guys. In other words, I don't want you fucking coming. I don't want you taking my number. It's all good. And we'll go out there and fight again if you want. But I usually had those guys on my good side.
Yeah.
But he was one of those that, okay, you don't want this firecracker going off anywhere too crazy around me. You have a time machine. You can go anywhere. You can go into the future. You can go back in time wherever you want. I don't know. Your Wild West. Maybe you want to see the dinosaurs. Maybe you want to head and check out the Renaissance in the 1600s. You can go anywhere.
Well, I think I would like to go back to, my grandfather was a cowboy. He played poker with Doyle Brunson. He worked ranches. His mom passed on at 14, and he worked ranches from Calgary all the way down into Montana. I'd like to go back into that era where when life was really, really as hard as it could get. That's when they made real men, and we all try to live up to those who came before us in the past, being grandfathers, right? So my grandfather, not a lot of people know this about us, but my had been my great uncle back then was George the Iceman Woolf, and they used to wrangle horses together down in Montana. For those that don't know George the Iceman Woolf, he rode Seabiscuit in the greatest race of all time, the horse race of all time. He was a jockey, right? And he's a legend down in Mexico.
I remember Ropey. I recognize that name. I wasn't sure. Now I'm very familiar. I know exactly. Yeah, I read the book and watched the movie. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. So it's I just to be back in that era and watch that whole process of a Great Depression and what those folks. My grandfather was born in 1919 and he died at 92. Yeah, lived a long life at 92 and served in World War II and did a lot of great things. And that's when men and women they work their tails off in this world. So.
Hey, it's a great fucking answer, to be honest. It's a great answer. That'd be a interesting trip and incorporate the family. And I think it'd just be an interesting time just to witness, that was a lot of hardship a lot of people had to face, and we came out of it. And you're right, like you had to work hard. Like my ancestors during that time, I'm just automatically proud of them to get through it. We're here. We're here. Whatever the hell you did, like I'm here, and thank you very fucking much because that wasn't an easy time. What goes on a perfect pizza?
I'm pretty simple. I'm double pepperoni, extra sauce, mushroom.
Have you ever been in a bench brawl?
I've been in a couple.
Were you in
the one? I was in the one in San Diego. Steve Martinson was coming out at the start of the third period. We were playing Phoenix. Phoenix was in the league when I first got there, and big bad John Baduke. He'd been making fun of Marty back and forth, and then Marty came out, and Johnny was standing by the bench, and she was a full-on brawl. Then, boy, it was nuts, man. And then it continued on. They couldn't get the door closed quick enough to the rink when we come out at the start of the third, and I remember that night I had tucked 5 after the second, and my brother was there, and some buddies of mine were down, and my brother ended up missing the whole fight at the start of the third period because he ate too much Mexican food and he was somewhere else. So, but yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Fucking deadly.
Yeah. But it was a free for all out there. And then there was a couple in junior when I first started that were, it ended up, I think a couple of them were because you remember when everybody came out and warmed up by themselves.
Yeah. My whole career in the job, we weren't allowed to do it because guys like you had too many fucking brawls before the game.
It was nuts, man, back in the day. Crazy.
Yeah, nuts. But really interesting today to tell stories about. Just crazy that all of that happened. Of all your teammates, okay, you're going to a trip to Neptune, the gaseous planet, and they're looking for samples. You're a scientist now. Your DJ career was good, but it's brief, and now you're a scientist. We have to go all the way to Neptune and back. It's going to take you about 7 months, 3.5 months each direction. Now, who do you take to be your personal chef? Got to be a teammate that you played with.
Oh, wow, that's a tough one. Not a lot of guys were that good at cooks, really. They weren't too bad, but one guy, Angelo Catanero, he was my captain in Scotland. He actually taught me how to make Italian sauce right from scratch, the passata, the old mafia way, man. And it was, I still make it to this day that way, make it with fresh passata and then add my, your garlic into it. Yep. And then you kind of build it in processes. Yep. So.
Well, there's your answer. How many NFL games have you been to?
I've been to 3, all in San Diego.
Oh, yeah, of course. You got to pick. You're going to be one of these superheroes. Which one would you pick? The Flash, Batman, Spider-Man, or Aquaman?
Batman.
Batman. You like the mystique. You like the dark
dark
hero,
soul.
the conflicted mind, soul who lays it all down for others. The Dark Knight.
That's it.
I was going to add Superman, but he can do everything. I never saw the point of Superman. I really like Superman. I love Superman. But then when I grew out of my teens, I guess, my real childhood, and I thought about it, I'm like, it's just too easy to pick Superman. Right? It's just too easy. The guy can do what everybody else can do. Flash can run fast. Superman can run as fast as he can, and he can fly around and beat up gods and stuff. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, I'm going on. Have you done either of these things, and would you? Skydive, bungee jump, skywalk at the CN Tower.
Skywalk, I do that one. Height scared the shit out of me.
They scare the shit out of me. I wouldn't do either.
My stepson Tanner just went. He went skydiving for the first time, and I watched the video of it. And the pure fear when they first jumped out of that airplane. Again, my comment.
I don't want to visit it.
Yeah, my comment to him was when he was on the ground was, so you jumped out of a pretty damn good airplane, and you just jumped out of it. But
jumped out of it. Wolfie, yeah. I went up. It's hard enough for me to go up in the CN Tower, man. It's hard enough. But again, I close my eyes in the elevator. There's usually, if I'm in Toronto with someone new that hasn't experienced it, okay, let's go up and dig deep. Get up there, and there's this glass floor. I don't know how people walk on it. It freaks me out. And then they go outside and they strap themselves in. I don't know. You got to see this, man. Like, you can see it from the Jays game. And they like hang off the side of the CN Tower and look down. I'm going, like, honestly, I couldn't do it if you gave me $1 billion. I would just pass out. I would die. I would try to do it, of course. I mean, you're giving me this money. I can't. It's the peak. The only scarier thing for me is being buried alive. And I don't know. Both are at the ends of a real bad spectrum that I never really want to visit. So my answer is I'm not doing any of the above. Not that you asked.
Me neither.
Okay. Last question.
I had to pick one.
Okay, if you want to do that, I'll be done. Penny Lane has tryouts for the provincial team. And you can get a ride home with her, right? Because I'm going to come watch, but I'm going to leave my car down there. Because Daddy doesn't drink and drive, Wolfman. Daddy doesn't drink and drive. Daddy drives to the soccer field, watches, and the soccer field is located very, very close to downtown, where Dad goes and meets his friend after soccer.
Nice.
Friends. You know the way it goes. Friday night, it's a bite and a few beers down on George Street. Your last question. All-time team in this hypothetical world. Say I'm on one side, you're on the other. You've got it. There's $1 million in the middle, and whoever wins this game gets to take the money. So you get to pick 5 players and a goalie from all time, and they're all hypothetically in their primes. You're going to make one mega team, one mega line. Now, you can't use any Montreal Canadiens, and you can't use anybody named Lemieux, Howe, or Gretzky.
Okay.
Just because that's too easy to go there. So, you can go from there. 3 forwards. Doesn't have to be a center. Crosby can play wing or Yzerman or whoever you went with, and then 2D and a goalie.
Yeah, I think Stevie Y was an awesome player. I think having him up the middle is a no-brainer. If I can't pick any of the others, I would put Sidney Crosby on his off wing, and I would put Cam Neely on the other side.
Oh, what a team!
Yeah, and,
so far.
D-Men, I loved your podcast the other day, your last episode, or maybe it was a couple ago. L.I. Afraidy, I just was in love with that man when he played the game. He could shoot the puck hard, hit like a Mack truck, man. I just love that story about him. So he would be the one, and obviously Bobby Orr on the other side. It's
no Orr. You can't pick Orr.
Can't pick Bobby.
Not Orr, Gretzky, Lemieux, or Howe.
Bobby, like he's hanging out here with me, Mr. Orr.
Hey, he does give you. You're always a very polite, mannerly guy. I always notice that, and that's good leadership too. I mean, it rubbed off on me. But who are we talking about? I feel like calling him Mr. Orr too. He's one of those people, like Jean Beliveau. I could never call Jean ever, and he would be like, I can't. Not that I knew him that well, but these guys are around the rink. I'm like, I'm sorry, I just can't. I can't bring myself to do that.
Yeah,
there's certain people.
The first time sorry to get off topic, but the first time I met Mr. Orr, man, was obviously at Boston Bruin camp, and he invites everybody out to his house, and he actually has everybody's kind of mingling around, and they kind of bring all the draft picks, me and Andy Bezo that year, a couple other guys, bring you over one at a time and kind of have a conversation with you. Hey, you're a Bruin now, and blah blah blah, and kind of give you the spiel. And he was sitting there, and he had shorts on, and just the amount of scars that I seen on his knees, how many times they tried to fix him, and his intestinal fortitude to just continue to kind of want to, and the love of the game really give you a spark to just kind of give you chills up the back of your neck, because you get a little few injuries in junior, get some teeth knocked out, but when you see what that man went through is it's pretty impressive, right? And for how long he played and how well he did in the game from all the scars on his knees.
You just gave me goosebumps. You're allowed to use them. Now give me a goalie. Fuck it. I'm going to let you use Bobby Orr because you were drafted by the Bruins. There you go. I'll fucking let you use him. Now, who's going to be the goalie?
My goalie, I'll split. I'll go with Chris Osgood. Ozzy's a buddy of mine.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He doesn't quite get the clout that I think he should get. He won 3 Stanley Cups. That's not 1. That's not 2. That's 3. And that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And they had great teams and great defense, but it always starts with your goaltending. And, Kenny Holland had drafted him and followed him. And we used to play ball hockey. You talk about ball hockey, and you're a fantastic career at it. And
thank you.
I followed you guys, follow you and Biz and all those guys in the Chicklets Cup and stuff. I just get a laugh watching you cats, man. But yeah, me and Kenny and Ozzy, that's how we used to stay in shape in the summertime. Kenny,
really?
I think, he was the Western Scout back then, and we were the Red Wings. He was for Western Scout for the Red Wings back then, and so we used to play in the summertime all the time. So you ever need a ringer, I'm available. I know I'm 53, but I can still move and shake. And that
I guarantee you could be fucking 73 if you get open in your shot. I'm telling you, it's wild because you and Colburn. So, again, for those listening and paying attention, because I know sometimes I go out of order. That's why I try to do these in order, like chronological order, because people just listening out of nowhere don't often know what I'm. So, Darren Colburn, he's been on this show. And like I said, I just explained he played with Wolfie, and I played with Wolfie. Until Cornerbrook, the last year any of us played together, we'd never really played on one line together. But I find you very similar in that, I am a disher more than anything. I mean, I can score. I think I have a nose for the net. It would be accuracy and kind of where to go more than anything. You guys both have you're almost the same shot from the other side. It's just that he shoots left and you shoot right. But I mean, it's I can see how playing together, and you're both creative. So I can see how in roller hockey with the floodgates would have been opened. But for me, I mean, I've had a lot of line mates, and I don't know, man. I'm trying to think. Even in pro, I don't think I've had anybody that can shoot the puck like you and him. And it's funny that you already knew each other. You know what I mean?
It was fun in roller hockey because, I mean, the goalies had to shuffle to get across. You couldn't push from one leg to get across the other and slide, until they figured out that you could put some plastic on the inside of the pad, and then goaltending got a little bit better. But I would fake it and zip it over to him, or he would zip it right back to me. And we had a lot of fun just one time at pucks at the top of that.
It was just one time, and it was 4-on-4, with no offsides or anything. I don't think a lot of people realize how it worked. So if you're a scorer, man, and you just go to get that open space, and it's like you guys, like I said, in ice hockey, you can do it 5-on-5 in the zone, open it way up. And it was just and exactly, the goalie would come over and then one of you would tap it back to the other. And I mean, it was as impressive watching you guys play with each other, play hockey with each other, as it was the individual shots. But anyway, it was an honor. That was my, in both years, I think the last year you guys played, I got to play with you, and you were both mentors of mine at the very least, and real good friends. Wolfie, honestly, you're one of my best friends in the world. We got to do this more. It was great to see you this summer, but let's not go another lengthy time like that without hanging out.
Absolutely, man. I miss you immensely. That's for sure. Like you said, we've been really tight for a long time, and life gets busy. Life takes us and drags us in certain directions. You got your daughter Penny Lane, and you've been real focused on that in your career, man. And we couldn't be more happier for all us cats that know you, man, for your success that you've had. Love the Shoresy show, man. I get a chuckle out of it, man. I just get a chuckle. And there's so many people following, like a lot of the guys that I work with out here, and I work on a national project pipeline project. I'm not going to say the name of it, but I'm pretty sure people can figure it out. But
Yeah.
a lot of the people from SMJV, Rob Frost, and some guys in the office, and my bosses, Jeremy Gerlach and Joe McCullough, and my brother Kurt, we got a huge following out here, and it's something that as we're working hard every day doing our jobs, it's something that I'm hearing more and more of. Hey, did you watch this on episode 3? Oh, I love that. I love the gyms, and it's becoming a cult following, man. And I just love it. I'm so happy for you guys' success in that, man.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it, Wolfie. And I'm equally, we talked, we can go on and on, but I'm equally as happy for you. You found yourself in a great spot. You're real good at what you do. You make some great money, and you met a great person to spend time with. So I just don't want to get too personal. You know what I mean? I love you. You're one of my favorites, and hopefully we can talk again soon in person and share a beer and a story.
Absolutely, buddy. I love you too.
Thank you, my friend. Folks, if you're downtown St. John's, Newfoundland, you want to go out for a beer, why not go to the Bull and Barrel? Why not check out the Martini Bar? Why not check out Rob Roy Confusion, TJ's Pub, Greensleeves Pub, or Trinity? And if you're going to go for a bite to eat, why not do that at Merchant Tavern, Blue on Water, or Wedgwood Cafe at the end of Elizabeth Avenue. Wedgwood Cafe, also available for catering. Contact Peter Wedgwood at Wedgwood Cafe. Ryan Power Conditioning. You want strength, balance for the body and mind? Look no further. It's on Rope Walk Lane. Power Conditioning, strength and balance for the body and mind. If you want to go to Mr. Lube, there's 2 locations right here in St. John's. Torbay Road and Kenmount Road. Live, laugh, lube. Folks, if you want the pain relief, pain sticks that just don't quit, go to pitbullpainrelief.com and see what all the fuss is about. And finally, True Hockey. Take what's yours. Thanks to Corey Gregory and everybody else at True Hockey for a fantastic Chicklets Cup and the free swag, gloves, and sticks. I'll be back next week with more Tales with TR. Thanks to Mark Woolf. Thanks you all for listening, and have a great fucking weekend.